Redding is a beautiful place. We have national parks in 3 different directions, 2 world-class lakes. This is a sportsman's paradise, but it's also full of wonderful people. We have business leaders, community leaders, faith-based leaders, all of them working towards a singular goal, and that's to make this a great place to live. I wanted to showcase these people, give their perception of the place that they call home. This is allredding.
Brad Williams, welcome to the allredding podcast.
All right. Thank you, Griff. Glad to be here. Thanks for the invitation.
It's good to have you here. Give you a brief introduction. You are the Director of Financial Aid Services at College and Career Options. You previously served as the Vice President at Simpson College and later Simpson University. You have an engineering background and you know something about tanks. You're also husband to Mary Kay, father of 3 grown men, and grandfather of 7. Doing good so far?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
While there's no official statistics, you may also be the longest serving marriage mentor in all of human history. In that we met when you and Mary Kay were the marriage mentors for my wife and I when we were still just engaged and going through our church's premarital program. 22 years later, much to my wife's all too frequent dismay, you continue to serve as a mentor, friend, and occasional golf buddy.
I can't believe 22 years, Griff. Holy moly.
The guy who shaves my face can believe that it's been 20. I don't shave as much, obviously, as I used to, but 22 years.
Yeah, it was great.
Summer.
I mean, we enjoyed that work, that ministry, and particularly great to meet you and Narina and then maintain our friendship. It's been fantastic.
We
Appreciate
couldn't
it.
be more grateful for you guys in our lives. So I noticed on your bio for College and Career Options that you mentioned, of course, your love for your wife and for your children, but particularly your love for your grandchildren. And when you were a brand new grandfather, you said to me that grandchildren are God's reward for not eating your young.
There you go.
Still true?
It's still true.
Okay.
Great season of life.
Yeah.
Great season of life. Fantastic. Just to watch them, their innocence, their newness about everything, their cuteness. Yeah, it's incredible.
I enjoy that. We have kids of all ages, as you know, from 20s down to not yet 9. And I came home yesterday. The name's escaping me, but the scientists who study bugs, and you'll see the bugs will be pinned out in a scientific way. Yesterday, our youngest had collected a number of dead things around our property. So there was a dead bullfrog, several dead lizards. He did not have the delicate pinning. He used my staple gun to hold him to a piece of wood, but he was so excited to show me when I got home. Yeah,
he's a boy.
Yeah, he's all boy. And my wife hates frogs, terrified of frogs. It's her thing. He tried to bring it in the house. That went poorly for him.
Nice. Well played.
Yeah, right. Okay, so let's talk about your background a little bit before we get into college and career options. You are not a Shasta County native.
Correct. Pennsylvania native.
Okay.
Several generation Pennsylvania native. York County, which is south central Pennsylvania. Grew up there. Went to Penn State for my undergraduate degree in engineering, and then got an MBA and followed more of a management path later from the local college, private college there, York College of Pennsylvania. And then we found our way to Redding, California, which I never knew existed in 1996.
Okay, so how does a Nittany Lion find their way all the way to a place you didn't even know existed?
Yeah, that's a great question. I was working in the defense business. You alluded to that earlier when you mentioned tanks. We're not talking about gas tanks or propane tanks, right? These are the ones that run on tracks. And although I didn't actually work on the vehicle called a tank, I worked on armored equipment that has tracks. So a lot of people refer to them as tanks. And I would refer to them as tanks just so people knew what they were talking about. But anyway, I was in that business, and we became part of a church in York, part of a Christian Missionary Alliance church in York. There's a lot of Christian Missionary Alliance churches in Redding, by the way. And became a member of the governing board there. The pastor there, and this was the late 80s when we went to that church, and the pastor there was Jim Grant, Dr. Jim Grant,
right?
who was called here to Reading in 1993 to become the president of Simpson College. And Jim and I had created created a friendship. I loved him. He appreciated, I think, the work that I was doing on his governing board. Saw a young guy with potential, perhaps. And I was actually looking for a career change. I was kind of in a niche market business, you might imagine. That work that I was doing in a defense business is kind of a niche. I didn't want to continue to work in a defense business. And he invited us, took him out. And long story short, in April of 1996, like 30 years ago, found our way here to become a vice president at then Simpson College, now Simpson University.
Yeah, that would be a pretty niche business. I think I'd like to own a tank, but other than me and the government, I don't think you have a lot of customers.
Yeah, well, we would say we were helping keep the free world safe. So we take as many customers as we could that the State Department would allow us to sell to, but our products are typically U.S. Army products, typically. Yeah.
Now,
With a cool product line. I mean, cool product line.
So about that product line, isn't there a news clip out there that shows that product line in action, maybe in Iraq, if the story, remember correctly?
Yeah. Well, that equipment is all over the place, but probably the most famous one, at least the one that I participated in, at least in some small part, was in 2003. You may recall, in Baghdad, in the Iraq War, the statue of Saddam Hussein was pulled down. And locals first attempted to pull that statue down, but they couldn't get it down. So the U.S. troops that were nearby, in a piece of equipment called the M88A2 medium recovery vehicle, more than you ever wanted to know, Griff.
Right.
Were nearby, and it's a recovery vehicle, has a hoist and a winch, and can do a whole lot of things. And they said, we can help. So they attached that winch line around the statue and pulled that statue down. So I've got a poster, an artist rendering actually of that action taking place. My tie to that is in the late 80s, I was a project manager on that piece of equipment when we were moving it from an M88A1 to an M88A2, so making the improvements to that. And, that's a unique story. I don't expect you're getting another podcaster with that kind of a
Probably not.
podcast guest with that kind of a story.
I think I've identified a story arc, though, in your career. All of them are replete with acronyms.
There you go.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Defense contracting to higher education,
Oh,
and now to funding for higher education.
No doubt about it.
Yeah, you don't
No
use
doubt.
any
We love
actual
acronyms.
words. Right.
Yeah, we love acronyms.
Right. Okay, so then let's talk, because one of the goals of the allredding podcast is, to bring knowledge and awareness to cool people, cool organizations that are doing great things in our community, but it's also just to the community. So you have a wife. Were the boys born here, or were they born in Pennsylvania?
No, they were in Pennsylvania. They were 12, 10, and 7
Okay.
when we brought them 3,000 miles away from their grandparents.
And so you've stayed, though, for 30 years. So tell me what it's like raising a family in the North State, and what's keeping the family in the North State.
Yeah, we loved it here. We had to adjust to it, I will say that. The heat of the summer, the brownness, which we weren't used to, fences, which we weren't used to.
No fences in Pennsylvania?
No fences
Okay.
between yards. Houses are closer together here than back there. So anyway, we had some things to adjust to, but my wife and I, we determined we were going to be on an adventure, and we'll see how this goes, and we'll give it 2 years. And nobody from our family had ever left our county. Most people in that county stay there. So we were taking an adventure, a 3,000-mile journey to the other side of California, or other side of the United States. I told you before, we in the East Coast, we make fun of people in California, right? And all the things that are going on. I never heard of Reading, California. I'd heard of Reading, Pennsylvania,
Right.
and the Reading Railroad on the
Right.
Monopoly board.
Right.
And so we came, and of course, then we said we're going to give it 2 years and see how it goes, and then 30 years later, we're here. So and our boys were 12, 10, and 7, as I've said, and they've become Californians. And couldn't believe when we got ourselves a California license plate. That seemed very weird to us. But we've really enjoyed it here. The community's been great. The people have been great. The ability to engage in the community and kind of open arms for anybody that's looking to be able to help and assist, and whether that's a nonprofit organization or any kind of organization that might be looking for help, And so we've done that. We've jumped into that. Our kids played a lot of sports. I coached a lot of sports. You get to know a lot of people. You get to make great friendships through those kind of things. And so that helped us, to adjust as well. They had some great coaches. They had some great teachers. 2 of our boys went off to college in Southern California. Our third boy went to work in Chico. And we thought, they're in their 20s. They're off exploring. They're doing their own thing, and they're probably not coming back, because there's a lot of opportunity. They've all returned. They're all in Redding. They love it here. We love it here. They found wives here, 2 of them. And of course, now they're here. Our grandkids are here.
Right.
And, we're not leaving. The family is the most important thing to us. And God has blessed us with an incredible family. And we're just grateful. We recognize that. We know that. We don't take it for granted. We're very grateful. Grateful to be here.
And in a full circle way, your son is my son's football coach.
Yes, my grandson and your son are on the same football team.
Yeah.
And my son is the coach of that team.
Yeah.
It's very cool.
Super cool.
Very cool.
I'm going to have to talk to him about being called the Cornhuskers, but wearing Miami Dolphins colors, but that's probably above the coaching level.
Penn State Nittany Lion does not like that name.
Yeah, right.
Nebraska Cornhuskers.
Right.
No.
Yeah, I know. I mentioned to you at the last game that, I grew up rooting for the Cornhuskers, and I don't think you stood close to me anymore.
No, I don't talk to you anymore.
Yeah, that's it.
It's good we had this on the books.
Right. Yeah, last chance. So there's a story that I know privately, but I hope you'll share it here, because one of the things about the North State is, yeah, you're right. July and August, they're warm, they're tough. But on the other hand, if you just look up and what you see around you, it's not like other places. Living at the end of the valley with the 11,000 foot peak to the east, a 14,000 foot peak to the north, and this is Mary Kay's story. But how did Mary Kay decide to celebrate her most recent milestone birthday?
Yeah, so great question. By the way, we the outdoor life here, the Lassen, Mount Shasta, the lakes, those kind of things, fantastic. When she turned 60, she determined she wanted to do something to prove she was still physically active, physically fit, could do things, prove something. So she loves hiking. She loves kayaking. I'm not so much on either. She drags me along to hike, and then I can barely keep up with her. But that's okay. That's fun. And so she determined we were going to do 60 hikes in the year that she turned 60. So we did it. We pulled it off. We did several of them in Utah while we were exploring the national parks, and then we did the majority of them here, Redding, but many, many of them in Mount Shasta, which we've learned a lot about their hiking trails up there. Found some ones we really like and go back to occasionally. And so she pulled it off. She was very excited about it. And I decided on that 60th hike, which I think was somewhere around Castle Crags. It wasn't Castle Crags, but it was somewhere up there. And there was a waterfall there. When we got to that, I unveiled what I had made for her, which was a banner that said, "Congratulations, 60 hikes at 60 years," or something like that. It was pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Is the banner up somewhere?
No, we had it up for a while.
Okay.
We did have it up. I did insist that it go up on our house. She loved it. I mean, I was great to have been able to do something to recognize that that. Yeah. But it was pretty cool.
Awesome
It was
for her
pretty cool.
too. I mean,
It was great.
Hard
It was a great
goal.
idea. It was a great idea
Yeah.
by her. Yeah.
yeah,
Great idea.
and a testament that you could do so many of those hikes within anywhere from a 15-minute walk from your front door to an hour
Yeah,
drive
to an
from your
hour
front
drive. Yeah,
front
yeah,
door.
yeah. Lassen, we love Lassen, hiking in Lassen too. Yeah,
Yeah, that's such an unused
yeah,
resource
yeah,
around here.
no doubt.
I got myself in trouble on the last podcast. My guest was Dusty Robinson, who's a local running coach, and they moved from the city and talked about living intentionally outdoors. And they wouldn't make a grocery list; they would make like an outdoor list, and they'd write it up on this. How people paint with chalk paint. They'd write it up on the chalkboard, and I was talking about how underutilized Lassen is, and my wife listened to it. And she's like, "Yeah, it is. Let's go." So I'll be spending a fair amount of time in Lassen, I
Yeah,
think, this spring
yeah,
and summer.
yeah.
So as a guy who didn't really mature, I want to talk about tanks, but I know that you left the management of the development of these very cool pieces of equipment, and you came to Simpson University. How long did you stay at Simpson?
20 years, Simpson University, 96 until 2016.
Okay.
As the executive vice president and CFO.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then,
Great run, great place. Enjoyed it, loved it.
yeah, it's been an anchor for the community and higher education in the community for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So after Simpson, though, that brings us to, I think, college, what was then college options. Am I right?
College options then, yeah.
Okay.
And then college and career options now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell me about college and career options, maybe the history of it, and bring
Yeah.
us forward?
Yeah. So college and career options started, college options at the time, started early 2000s. I give a lot of credit to what I call our founder and current CEO then, CEO now, Leanne Richelieu. Leanne, a Shasta County native, multiple generation Shasta County native, Shasta High School grad. And she was working at the time at UC Davis, with UC Davis, on some of their TRIO programs, which are federal grants for low-income first-generation students. Maybe we want to talk more about that later, but I'll skip over the details of that at the moment. To say that she wanted to be able to bring that work to the North State to be able to serve her community. And then selfishly to be able to get her kids closer to their grandparents.
Right.
And so that's fine. That's a great idea. And so she wrote a grant, federal grant, and it was awarded for that work to be done in Shasta County. Came here with UC Davis, office on Market Street in what used to be called, I think, the old schoolhouse. I think it used to be a toy store, toy shop, something like that.
Down there in the new, what's now like the Market Street Promenade area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so started there. UC Davis was still the administrative agent for that grant. And around that time, the McConnell Foundation had engaged with UCLA and someone named Dr. Patricia McDonough to do a study on why the college-going rate was low in the region. When I say region, McConnell serves, and we have served over the years, 5 counties.
Okay.
Tehama, Shasta, Siskiyou, Trinity, Modoc, those 5 counties. And that study was done, funded by the McConnell Foundation, and what they found out were 3 things that were holding students back in the region. One was our geographic isolation. Not much you can do about that. 2 was access to financial aid and the financial need itself among the community. And the 3rd was a lack of what's called A to G completion of classes in high school classes, which is the term that's used to describe a certain set of courses that need to be taken in order to qualify for admission to a University of California school. It's kind of the gold standard of college admission kind of requirements. And those were the 3 things. And, mostly, like I said, geographically, there's nothing you can do about that.
Right.
The course selections and completions was really a fallback to the schools, right? And for the superintendents to work on that. And they've done it, and the rates have improved. But financial aid was something that maybe, something could be done. So McConnell, in their wisdom, I believe, in trying to assist the community, to find a way to get students access to a college education, or at least after high school education. Because education can change families, can change lives, can change communities. It's great for the standard of living for families, great for the standard of living of communities. And so they recognized that, and they started to fund back then, I think 2004, started to fund college options with McConnell Foundation money. And that allowed college options to not just serve those federal grants, which are very limited in what they do and where the money can be used.
Is that those TRIO grants?
That's those TRIO grants. That's those TRIO grants.
So TRIO refers to 3 different programs?
In the 1960s, early 1960s, when the Congress created the TRIO programs and started to fund it, it referred to 3 programs. That's why they named it TRIO. It was the Upward Bound, or UB, Educational Talent Search, or ETS, and then SSS, which is the Student Support Services. Real quick word on each of those. ETS, Educational Talent Search, is for middle schools and high schools, and it puts an advisor in the schools, funded by the grant, to be able to assist a cohort of low-income first-generation students and try to advise them on what's available, how they could get there, what life after college, after high school might look like, and help them with educational choices. Upward Bound, much the same. It's high school. They also have a summer component to their part, a 6-week summer component, and at least a week of that is residential. This year, the folks that are in our Upward Bound program are going to be spending a week at Sacramento State.
Okay.
They're going to go on some tours. I think they're going to tour Google, as a matter of fact. They've got some kind of an in to get into Google to take a tour. Amazing for these low-income first-generation kids coming from Fall River, Bernie, Modoc, those kind of places.
Yeah, being on a campus like that would be remarkable.
Unbelievable. I'd like to take that tour, And then student support services are at colleges. So colleges have these federal grants as well to be able to help low-income first-generation students persist through college. In our region, almost every high school in our 5-county region is covered by one of these grants. And the purveyors, or the administrative officers, if you will, organizations for the grants are College of the Siskiyous, Shasta College, Simpson University, College and Career Options, and am I missing one? I think there's 5. College of the Siskiyous. I think I got them. And UC Davis. UC Davis is still here.
I was going to say comments are disabled for the video, so it doesn't matter.
UC Davis. Thank you. I appreciate that. UC Davis still here in the area after that program that Leanne brought up here years ago. And they take a big portion of the educational talent search and the Upward Bound that's really appreciated by students is college campus tours. In fact, very timely that we're doing this today, Griff.
Okay.
We have 4 Upward Bound grants, and we have 1 educational talent search grant. Serving the schools that we're serving with those grants right now are Modoc, Fall River, Bernie, and Butte Valley in Doris. And there are 89 students who left this morning, headed to University of Nevada, Reno.
Okay.
For a tour there today. Tomorrow they'll be at Lake Tahoe Community College for a tour, discussion, what's it take to get here. And then on Saturday they'll be at Sac State doing much the same thing. So, unbelievable opportunity that these kids would never get any other way.
And what's the cost to the kids?
Cost is zero to these kids. Grant is funded, which is fantastic. It's just fantastic to be able to do that for the kids. And for some of them, it's changed their perspective on, I can get there. I see people that look like me. I see people that are, maybe from my area that are on that campus. So pretty cool.
I had that experience when I went to university, just touring the campus and just having my eyes open. Mm-hmm. And then my son, my wife and I are both college grads, so we had some idea about how to do this as we were guiding our son off to college, who's in college now. But when he went on his campus tour, he came back and it was just the coolest thing
Yeah.
he'd ever seen.
Yeah.
30,000 young people in one place in a
Yeah.
campus that was more akin to a city
Yeah.
than the classrooms. And he was mostly a homeschool kid, so classroom was like the kitchen table. And it was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. So yeah, I can imagine those
So
89
cool.
kids. Yeah,
So
gonna
cool.
come home from a place like UNR.
Yeah.
Although I think they're all going to want to go to Lake Tahoe Community because Lake Tahoe. But
Why not?
yeah, I mean,
Why not?
no disrespect to the good people of Reno, but it ain't Tahoe.
Why not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so college options at the time it was named that starts with this TRIO grant, and then McConnell comes alongside and partners with college options.
Exactly.
20 plus years ago.
Exactly. Thank you, McConnell Foundation, for doing that. Changing lives in the North State for the better.
So as college options has grown, what's been some of the outreach and growth of the program?
Yeah. So we've moved. I think we were in Shasta County to begin with. I wasn't there with them then. By the way that I got to college and career options after my Simpson University 20 years was they had an advisory board for college options that worked with Leanne. The local colleges, Simpson being one of them, the local and regional offices of education, 5 counties, the Shasta Union High School District and others like it in the region, and business people to some extent. And I had the Simpson seat on that advisory board. So I'd gotten to know Leanne, I'd gotten to know their work. I loved their work. In fact, I would host them at Simpson usually once a year for a lunch and talk to them about what we did, because I saw them as advocates for us as they were out into these high schools, because they were in high schools everywhere. Our service line, if I can call it that, over the years has increased to primarily three things.
Okay.
The first one being academic support or academic preparation, primarily with, am I taking the right courses? How do things look for me if a student or a parent wants to understand that? Now, their counselors do a great job of that. So we don't get a whole lot of that, but we do get people asking for help with a college application essay maybe, or a scholarship essay to be able to write. We won't write it for them. That's what I always say. We don't write it for you, but we have people that can edit it and help you make it better. Make it your own and make it better. That's the first. The second is career exploration, which is trying to use some tools to figure out where would I be good? Where would my life be good for a job, for a career, for a path? What should I study in school? And we lined up with an organization called YouScience, YOU Science. And my colleague, Dan Haskins, became an expert on the career exploration area in general, space, if you will, and then also about YouScience. So we would administer these tools. Most career exploration surveys, tools, are only give you feedback on what you're interested in. So you kind of answer some questions to determine what you're interested in. This one adds that, it has that, but also adds what are you good at? What's your aptitude? How does your brain work? How are you wired? What works for you? What would you like to do? What would be kind of a more in your wheelhouse, so to speak, from a career standpoint? You put those two together, interest plus aptitude, and maybe even a little bit more heavily weighted on aptitude. And then we get a set of careers, tell you what kind of schooling's required, tell you what they pay annually, tell you how many jobs are available in that field. Is it going to be a growing field or not? So that's that. It's a great one. And then the last is
We got to stop. I know where we're going, and
Yeah.
I won't forget.
Okay.
I brought an outline.
you're a user.
Beyond a fan
Yeah.
of YouScience. So, as I indicated, my wife and I are both college grads, so we're not uninitiated when it comes to like figuring out how to go to college and the idea of going to college or the idea of career training, skill training. None of that was foreign to us. But even for us as sort of initiated or somewhat experienced users of the college system, and we had to figure out how to pay for school, and we had to sort of do that stuff on our own. I think she's the first college grad in her family. I'm not, but I think I'm the first graduate school, attendee and graduate. And so even though we had some map, if you will, for this road work and how to get our son there, um, it was a Gordian knot. I joked with you earlier. We had a key and we didn't know where the lock. We didn't even know where the lock was. We didn't know where the
Yeah.
door was.
Yeah.
And so but I knew a guy, so I called Brad, which is actually the ultimate genesis to why you're here, because everybody in this community, whether you're a college-bound kid or a career-bound kid, needs to know about the services of this organization. So that's why I invited you. So we came in, we talked to you. We'll get to the financial aid component. But you told us about YouScience, and so my son, who's now the sophomore at the 30,000 kid
Yeah.
university, and
Yeah.
I'm sure he's studying exceptionally
Oh, yeah.
hard and
Yeah.
definitely not
Yeah.
in all goofing around.
Yeah. Of course.
Right. So, anyways, he went through the YouScience process with Dan, which was all covered by your organization, or rather the grants and the funding organizations like McConnell, and I know the Ford family has been a partner for college and career options for a long time. And he went through it, and there was whatever a zillion different jobs that came up, and I think it was color coded. The red really doesn't match your interest and your aptitudes, and then there was sort of a yellow group, and I could be wrong. Dan is probably like, no, that's not at all right, Griff. But in any event, for purposes of our explanation, think of it like a stoplight. Green is green, you go. Yellow, be cautious. Red, probably not for you. So he ended up loving that process, and he'd always been interested in psychology, or at least from the time that adults start asking kids that terrible question about what are you going to do when you grow up, which is like the most unfair question ever to a 16-year-old. Like,
No doubt.
I don't know. I don't know what's for dinner. I mean, I know what I want to do when I grow up, and I've been doing something different for, over 20 years professionally. So
Yep.
in any event, we did YouScience with Dan, and the full circle story, and I hope Dan and others hear this, is that his first major that he selected was one that was in like kind of the green-yellow range, maybe the low side of green or in the yellow, and that major was not for him. And then he selected a different major, again in that yellow caution area, which was interest but not necessarily aptitude, or vice versa. And then he changed majors, and now he's in his third different major, but it's one that was in like the bright green,
That's great.
go for it area of the YouScience testing results. And he actually enjoys his classes, and he calls and he tells me about things that he's learning and he's interested in, and he's like, I can't believe this, And so now as a forensic psychology major, all of it is lining up, aptitude and interest, and it's been great.
That's so cool. That's a
Yeah.
great story.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and completely my own experience, and
Yeah.
part of why you're here.
Yeah.
But on the YouScience topic, college and career options was originally administered through UC Davis, but it became its own nonprofit, right?
We did. 2017 became its own nonprofit. Yes.
Okay, so that means that as a nonprofit, it's out there, working hard to try and find funding. True.
Correct.
So where does YouScience stand now?
YouScience, actually, the funding for that ended at the end of last year, so we're in the throes of trying to find alternate funding for that. Such a great service. Families can still look it up online, and they can do it on their own. They'll have to pay for it. You alluded to our free services. I didn't mention that, but what I should have said right up front, is all of our services are free, which I love, and we love, and families love, of course, because of the kind funding of our funders, primarily the McConnell Foundation over the years, and also the Ford Family Foundation in some recent years. But some of that funding is going away. Foundations don't fund forever. They want you to become sustainable. And so Leanne, the CEO, and her board and others are working hard to try and find alternate funding to be able to bring that back. Because it only entered our service line in 2017 or 18, something like that. So it's not something they did forever. Financial aid has kind of been from the beginning of the roots of college options, but career exploration, no. But families have loved it. And I said to Dan, I don't know why everybody in the 5-county region isn't knocking down your door to
Right.
be able to do this. Such a cool thing.
Yeah.
Such a cool tool. But you can still do it on your own. You have to pay for it. But it's, if we were to recommend a tool, we'd recommend it. I think the schools use a different tool, which is fine. And you can get that at your high school. They'll help you through that.
Well, if there was a listener or somebody who's connected with a potential funding source, a grant writing organization, or a foundation that was listening, how would they contact College and Career Options?
Yeah, they're welcome to reach out to me if they would like. Phone number 530-768-5103. That's my office phone number. I've got an incredibly long email address. That's actually the best way to get me, but B. Williams, maybe that's not too hard to remember, Brad Williams, B. Williams, at collegeandcareeroptions.org. Collegeandcareeroptions.org. I'll get you connected to the right person to be able to talk about that. But yeah, there may be. You never know, right? You
Right.
never know. So, yeah.
Yeah, one of the people on the adult running group that I participate with had seen one of the allredding podcasts, and it had just not something she was searching for. Just the algorithm had fed it to her, and she really enjoyed the content. So you never know who's going to be
Yeah.
watching or seeing.
It's a great idea, Griff. Thank you.
Okay, so there's the academic support services, college essays, direction for class selection, and those sorts of things. There's the aptitude analysis through YouScience, and then kind of the big thing that's been originally college options, now college and career options, has been financial aid. Maybe before you go into the financial aid component of it, you can tell us about the name change.
Yeah, name change happened, I lose track of time, maybe 4 years ago, something like that, somewhere around that time frame. College Options was the name that was selected back in the day, and it kind of says something about what you're looking for. But all along, from the very beginning, there was no desire to be exclusive in terms of helping students or families who were doing anything after high school to find a career, whether that be a tech school, trade school, whatever it might be. The name would imply that maybe those didn't fit with our services that we were providing. So I think very wisely, the name was changed to College and Career Options, kind of connoting more that we're working with anybody on any kind of a career. That could be a tech school, trade school, the cosmetology, whatever it may be. So I think that has served us well. And about the same time, I think there was this more of a awareness of career technical education and the need for skills, the trades, those kind of things, which are greatly in demand and greatly needed. So we joined in on that, and we are encouragers, we are supporters, we are grateful for anybody coming out of high school that has a plan to do some kind of education, whatever that may be, not limited in our view. And we'll help them with their academic planning, we'll help them with their career exploration, and we'll help them with their financial aid. There's financial aid available even for tech schools and trade schools. So
the idea that there are literally millions of quote unquote shovel ready jobs, which maybe they don't actually operate a shovel, but that aren't being taken out there. And I think people, sometimes my generation particularly, as I was growing up, it was like, college is the only way. And I can remember, and I still remind a dear friend of mine when he dropped out of college to start a welding business, like, oh man, you're going to ruin your life. Suffice it to say, it has not ruined his life. He has become an incredible business owner, takes care of his team, operates a business that does work statewide, and it's been a great way for him to take care of his employees, his staff, his family, and it was a great decision for him. So to those kids that are out there that don't want to sit behind a desk and want to work with their hands, work in a technical field and industrial field, there's great options out there.
Yeah.
I could prove it another way too. My business partner just got a bill from a local car dealership for some repairs, and the hourly rate was well above $200 an hour. And similarly, got a bill from his plumber also above $200 an hour.
There you go.
And I can tell you professionally that people are far more interested in an immediate response from their plumber than they are from their attorney. So, super important jobs, not to be dismissed.
1,000%.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
So then,
yeah.
so now college and career options, making a point to make the brand about any sort of career path post high school, whether it's further education or whether it's training. But that brings us to financial aid. How are people, we talk about the rising cost of education, how are people to get access to funding or learn about funding for their kids going off into the world?
Yeah, so that's what I was hired on to do at college, then College Options back in 2016. So that's what I've spent my time learning about and making presentations on and helping students, helping families to find how they can get. I talk mostly about free money. Uh, Loans are considered part of financial aid. Be aware of that. You may get a financial aid offer that includes loans. If you want to sign up for loans, great. I have no problem with that, but just do it consciously. There have been a lot of people over the years that have signed up for everything that comes to them in a financial aid offer. It includes loans. They didn't know they had loans till it came time to pay them back, which was after they graduated.
Right.
That's a bummer.
Right.
Accumulating 4 years of loans when you thought it was a gift. So from the standpoint of where that money comes from, there's three primary sources: the federal government, the state government, and the colleges itself, the schools themselves. They can give away their own money as well, free money. By the way, state of California, most generous state in the country when it comes to free money for students to go off to school. Even tech schools and trade schools, there's some money available. Over 3 billion, I think, maybe 3.5 billion, something like that, annually given by the California Student Aid Commission.
Anecdotally, I can say that's true. So like you have on speed dial the person that you call about this thing and the person that you call about that thing, and you're my guy on speed dial for anything educational related, particularly financial aid. So I don't know if you recall this, but several months ago I called you about a young person that was in our lives at the time, and she was considering a move to Utah, and she was making an apples to apples comparison of wages, but then we were also, well, you got to think about other things too, like cost of living and things that aren't necessarily obvious to you when you're 18 or 19, rental costs, fuel costs, grocery costs. But she had a desire to go to school. And so I had her figure out what would the costs be to attend community college in Utah. And then I called you and you were like, no, 100%. It's not anywhere but California.
Yeah.
It is by far the most generous state in the union in terms of funding, particularly for the first 2 years, but going on further in education and trade schools.
Yeah, I remember that call, and I don't think I ever told you she did make an appointment.
Okay.
And I met with her, and
Good.
we talked through her options, which was, for me, it was delightful to be with her.
Yeah, and by the time we, did kind of the deeper level analysis of wage comparison, cost of living comparison, educational cost comparison, Utah was a little less expensive for cost of living, even with lower wages. But by the time you factored in education, it wasn't a close call anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, just the options for educational
It
help.
would never pay back, right?
Nope.
Yeah.
Could not make that juice work out from an economic analysis.
Right.
So,
Right.
So what is your job, and how do you help families being in charge of the financial aid component of college and career options work?
Yeah, so a big part of it is communicating to high school counselors, training them to some extent when they're looking for it, working with the California Student Aid Commission and kind of being their eyes and ears here. We have a small contract with them actually to represent the California Student Aid Commission in our 5-county region. And a big part of, and I'm available for email consultation, for phone calls, for in-person visits in our office, for Zoom calls for people that are in distant parts of our region to be able to have financial aid questions. I had one right before I came over here today, a mother who called me about filling out a FAFSA. And the financial aid application is where all the financial aid process starts. It's either the FAFSA, if you're a U.S. citizen, or it's called the California Dream Act, or the CADA. If you're not a citizen, students are not a citizen, they may be able to fill that out and get some aid. They can't get federal aid, but they can get state and school aid for that. But, bulk of the work that I've done has been out in high schools. I'll be invited in to do workshops in the fall, typically presentations. I'll give a presentation. This is what financial aid is. This is how you get it. This is the sources. This is the kinds of financial aid. Let's take a look at what your student's eligible for. These are the income criteria for a federal grant. These are the income and asset criteria for a state grant. Let's talk about schools. Let's talk about out of state. Is there any way to get some discount pricing in out of state schools? And then what do I need to know to fill out my FAFSA or CADA? What kind of things do I need to know? So I do that presentation. Typically, it's an evening presentation at the high schools. I probably do, and then I also do some workshops. Like I'm going to be doing a couple workshops here in a couple weeks, and I've done some in the last few weeks. Just going in, helping students and parents fill out their FAFSA or CADA. They just want some help. You do it one-on-one at the school, which is kind of great, kind of cool. But the presentations in the fall, probably, I probably do in total workshops this year 45-ish, maybe closing in on 50, something like that. And I've done that kind of year over year to do that. So,
Okay, my acronym addicted friend. What is a FAFSA?
oh, yes, good for you. I'm glad you asked. Free application for federal student aid.
Okay.
Free application for federal student aid.
And why is
Free
that
being the key word.
why is that the gatekeeping document? Why does everybody have to do a FAFSA?
Yeah, everybody has to do a FAFSA in order to be able to get, well, number one, free community college in California. All 116 California community colleges offer free, 2 years free. Some schools have different rules than Shasta College does. I like the Shasta College rules, which are to qualify, eligibility rules. You're a full-time student and you file a FAFSA. You're getting free tuition for 2 years.
That's it.
No income basis. Yeah.
Half your college completed by filling out a document and by going to 12 units or more.
Greatest bargain in the United States of America. Try to name something else where you're investing in yourself and it costs you nothing to be able to do it.
My economics professor at Shasta College, also acronym addicted, taught us TANS TOEFL. There ain't no such thing as a free lunch. This might actually challenge that rule, that for 2 years you can go to get your college education at no
Gets
cost.
close.
Yeah.
Gets close. Yeah, gets close.
Right. Okay, so for us as a family, when it came time for the same son that I've been using as this example, I knew that we needed to do some process to even just be able to apply at schools, whether or not he was going to qualify or not qualify, what scholarships, grants, he's in the military, so benefits he'd have through the Army as well. But I knew I needed to do something, so I called you, and everybody's got to do a FAFSA.
Yeah, that's my argument. I mean, there's some people that will say they're not going to do it for whatever reason. I've actually, in my presentation, I have a slide that's got 6 points that says these are my compelling arguments for why I think you should fill out a FAFSA. But even if a student, even if a family thinks their income's too high or their assets are too high, well, in order to qualify for federal loans, in case student might want federal loans. By the way, if a student needs loans when they're in student, federal loan, nothing better than a federal loan. First of all, they can get it on their own. They don't have to have a cosigner. Great for parents. And the rates they're going to get, they're not going to get anywhere else. In fact, banks aren't going to give them a loan without a cosigner typically.
Right.
But even merit aid, merit aid is based on a talent or a skill. Need-based aid is based on income level of the parents typically for federal and state free money. But even merit aid, which will come from the school, talent or skill, a great musician, great artist, great academic. By the way, students, parents, a lot of money out there for good students. A lot of money out there for good students. Don't give up on getting good grades. Get good grades. Great athlete, right? So you're a great musician and you're going to get, you do an audition and the school says, we want to upgrade our music program and here's some money, here's some free money. That's a music scholarship.
Right.
That's going to them from the school. Even though it's a merit scholarship, not based on your income, which shows up on the FAFSA, most schools, in order to give merit aid, will actually want a family to fill out a FAFSA.
Yeah, we had to. He got some merit aid based on his grades.
The reason makes sense.
Merit aid.
The logic of that makes sense. That school wants to be last dollar in, right? To meet that student's need. They don't want to give all their money away right up front. They want to be last dollar in. If a student can get money from the federal government for free, that goes to the school, from the state for free, that goes to the school, we're going to take that first, and then we'll see what's left. And rather than taking the word of somebody that says, I know we're not going to qualify for anything, they're going to say, well, okay, fill out a FAFSA. So
Right.
that's why they do it. Makes sense. They're the last dollar in.
Yeah, school can stretch its dollars further, stretch its scholarship
100%.
opportunities further.
Yep.
No, that makes sense. So, who's the ideal customer, if you will, for college and career options?
Anybody, not just a high school student, anyone in the 5-county region that is looking to do any kind of educational pursuit and they need help, whatever that may be, whether that's academic prep that we talked about, whether that's career exploration, or whether that's financial aid support, those kind of things. Now, most of our clientele are students or parents of students.
Right.
Parents are very interested because they know they may be the ones footing a good part of the bill. So parents are very, very interested in it. And I tell families, when I do my financial aid presentation right up front, I tell them that, financial aid and some of these other things, and you talked about the Gordian knot, mysterious, complicated, confusing, even intimidating. I've had parents who've come to me and said, I'm glad you're here. I need to talk to you. I haven't slept in, 3 days because I
Right.
know I'm going to get this wrong. And they believe that if they get it wrong, then their child is doomed for the rest of their life. That's not true, but it feels that way.
Sure.
And I get that. So I affirm them in all of that. So no age limit to our services. 5-county region, friends, neighbors, anybody that needs those kind of services can reach out to us.
Has college and career options tracked some of the impact it's had in the community over the last 20 years of work here?
Yes.
How so?
As a matter of fact. Well, number one would be the impact of grant funding that's come in. And I've gathered some numbers. In 2004, there was one federal grant being offered up here. Those TRIO grant programs. In 2022, and that was worth $210,000. In 2022, over the course of time, there have been over $60 million. Now, I think that's probably up to maybe $65, $70 million by now. That's outside money, federal money brought in to the community to be able to help students in our community. And not only that, but creating jobs. It creates jobs. It's not money we're spreading around among ourselves. It's money coming in from an outside source. So that's one way. And having served about 1,000 students in 2004 by that time, and now over probably 50,000 students or clients, it's not all students, parents
Right.
as well, who've been served. We witnessed the FAFSA completion rate jump dramatically, where we were well below the state average. Now we're on par with the state average, which
Okay.
last year was about 65%. So, I mean, the state average is a good metric, right?
Right.
We're in California. We should use, we're not going to compare ourselves to Vermont or something like that. So, pretty good metric. So that makes us all feel good. And counselors, again, high school counselors, very much get credit for a lot of that. Also, the FAFSA has gotten easier over the years.
It's great now.
It's gotten better even, yeah. And I tell families in the history of time, in the history of civilization, the FAFSA has never been easier than it is right now. Congratulations. So that plus the fact that California is asking all seniors to fill out a FAFSA unless they opt out of it. So that's helped to bump up the numbers as well. So I'm not saying we're taking all the credit for that, but we were there with them, with the counselors, with the state in their pushes to be able to get FAFSA completions, things like that. We've seen A to G rates increase. Again, that's not all on us, but I think we were able to help, do some of that with our advisors
Right.
through those federal grants, right? Students who otherwise wouldn't really know what they're low income first generation, remember? So that's the target audience.
And by first generation, you mean first generation to pursue education past high school?
Neither parent completed a 4-year degree.
Okay.
That would be considered first generation. That's their definition.
Yeah, I to some extent you're talking to a client, or to a significant extent you're talking to a client, because when you told us, hey, look, fill out a FAFSA, and I could remember sitting at my parents' kitchen table. It was paper, it was pencil, it was erasing, it was pages after pages, and then we were having to dig through documents, and so it was manual and it was extensive and it was awful. And so now I just get an email that says, your student has completed his portion or her portion of the FAFSA, you need to complete yours.
Inviting you to participate.
I think I was done in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, it was
Does not surprise me.
Yeah, it was quick, it was simple, it was easy, and then that resulted in him getting where he needed to go with his counselor at his university and getting everything
Yeah.
taken care of for his
Yeah.
the remainder of sophomore year and
Yeah.
into his junior year.
All your financial information just transfers right in from the IRS. Piece of cake.
I didn't need to know
People
that.
don't even believe that.
You know I'm paranoid. Why did you say
Well,
that?
yeah, I like a lot of people are.
Yeah, I would have preferred ignorance there.
Yeah.
Don't tell me anything else about that. I don't want to know.
I won't.
Okay, but one of the things that you said that would get lost in the weeds of this FAFSA completion rate. Somebody's listening right now, and be like,
Yeah.
"Oh my gosh, shut up! That's boring." It's not, because that study that was done that ultimately led Leanne to try and bring those services to the North State
And McConnell to fund.
and McConnell to fund was this idea of getting education into this community about getting information out there in this community to just go to school, and here's how you do it. And so that was identified was that lack of financial aid. So there's geography, financial aid, and then the
A
A to
through
G.
G completion rates.
Right. So that financial aid component is now on par with Newport Beach or San Diego or any other part of the state on average.
Yeah, across the state.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
Very cool.
That's
Very
super cool.
And in fact, the California Student Aid Commission tracks it. They track it. They actually report new numbers twice a week. They report to the high school counselors, and they know by name who has and who hasn't filled out a FAFSA, so they can actually do one-on-one counseling with those students to be able to help them. That wasn't always the case either, so very grateful for that. Again, all our work has been free. Even the financial aid services work is a little bit in jeopardy of maybe being funded going forward. So again, that funder out there,
Yeah.
who wants to help. But having said that, I want to make sure I express nothing but extreme gratitude, sincere gratitude to McConnell Foundation, and then also the Ford Family Foundation out of Oregon, but primarily the McConnell Foundation. They've carried the load and allowed us to do what we do, to bring these services and serve so many in our community, to be able to help them change their lives through education. It's a fantastic feeling.
Yeah, 50,000 kids over the years. You're literally talking on average over the last 20 years of the organization, thousands of kids per year.
Yeah.
And those are trajectory changes.
Yeah.
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 You mentioned something when we were talking about you're coming on today about job satisfaction.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Why do you like your job?
Yeah,
Brad?
yeah. Well, I mentioned that the financial aid component can be very confusing. You mentioned the Gordian knot, and I tell families, look, my number one goal here with you is to try and simplify the process for you and calm you down a bit. And I get calls all the time, so and so told me to call you. You helped them. They got through this. They were, very confused. I'm very confused. Help me. And so I can and I do, and they are extremely grateful because I've unlocked something akin to nuclear fusion in their mind.
Right.
Not even close, right? Not even close, but confusing, I understand. So I'm helping them, which is very satisfying to me. They're grateful and let me know how grateful they are, and I can see it. I mean, I've had people in my office, in tears because they realize what kind of financial aid they're going to be able to get and how it's going to change the life of their child. Or kids typically don't cry in my office, but parents might, from time to time.
Yeah.
So to be able to do work that is affirming to me just on its face, but then get that kind of feedback, positive feedback from parents particularly, and from students as well. I'm not used to doing work for clients who are happy with what the work you do all
Right.
the time, So it's been a great way to wrapping up my career here in the near future. And it's been a great way for me to wrap that up. It's been fantastic. I love the organization. I love the work we do.
I don't know. I'm putting you on the spot. This isn't something we've talked about beforehand, but I'm wondering, since you've been with College and Career Options now about 10 years.
10 years.
Have you had the opportunity to see a kid, a family come in, and family like mine, like, okay, how do we handle this? What do we do next? And then go all the way through and then come back to you and they're a graduate or they have completed their technical training or something along those lines?
I've had a few. I mean, typically from a financial aid standpoint, if you've mastered, I've had a few come back for graduate programs,
Okay.
to help me with undergraduate help me now with graduate. And so that happens occasionally, but from their standpoint, they're pretty much a veteran of the financial aid process by that point. So they've got it figured out. But
Yeah.
yeah,
That makes
yeah,
sense because our son, going through it with him, he's paved the way for his younger sister who's
100%.
starting to have those kind of conversations with us now. And then they have a younger brother who's several years away, but
Yep.
it just won't be mysterious
Yeah,
anymore.
exactly.
And I think that
Exactly.
was for our family. I wrote in my notes, Gordy and not, but I also wrote, demystify.
Right.
There's this joke I like about expertise, and it's this old guy. He is the maintenance man at the town dam for like 40 years, and floodwaters are coming. He's retired. He retired last year, and a new guy's there, new kid's there. Well, the floodwaters are coming, the rain keeps coming, and they got to open the dam, or the town's gonna be destroyed. And so the new maintenance guy can't get the dam to open. The machine won't work. So he calls the old guy and he says, I need you to come in. You got to help me with this. And old guy's like, well, I'm retired now, but I do have a consultancy. And he's like, whatever. It doesn't matter what it costs. We're going to lose the whole town. So old guy comes in. He's carrying one tool, a hammer. He walks up to the machine, looks to a particular spot on the machine, hits it hard with a hammer. It sputters to life. Dam opens. Town saved. The guy's like, oh my gosh, thank you. He's like, hey, well, it's $1,000. He's like, $1,000? You swung your hammer one time. He's like, yeah, it's only $1 for swinging the hammer, but it's $999 for knowing where to swing it.
That's great.
Well,
That's great.
for me, although there was no charge, thank you, and don't send me a bill.
Yeah.
But for me, that was you, and that was college and career options. Was like, okay, I don't know where to. I need somebody to tell me where to
Yeah.
swing the hammer.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
now
yeah,
it is
yeah. Very
demystified. I got an email 5 minutes later. It was done, and
Yeah.
smooth sailing for another
Yeah.
year.
Very cool.
Okay, so I know college and career options has some events that it takes part in.
Yes.
Say more about that.
Yes. Thank you. So in May each year, we hold what's called Kinder College Day.
Okay.
Been doing that for maybe 15 something years, maybe 20. Inviting kindergarten students from all over Shasta. This is just for Shasta County. To a day where we have people from all over the community who talk to these kindergarten students in groups of, they bring in their class, and we've got all these places set up. It's typically at Simpson University, and we've got stations, and a presenter will be at a station and talk about what they do. Like if you came in as a lawyer, this is what I do. This is what my day looks like typically. This is why it's good to get a good education, kids, or, listen to your teacher, those kind of things. And that mostly what they like the most are the fire trucks and
Right.
the ambulances and the police cars and the canine units. And so the more we can have those kind of things, the better. Or the helicopter, if it happens to be there, or the veterinarian that brings a horse or something like that. But,
Right.
it's exposing them to the career element. We just think it's, you can't do it too early. So, and Siskiyou County has actually kind of copied our model, and they do it there now as
Okay.
well. And it's just a lot of fun, and it's being put together right now by our good friend Gordon DeWitt. He leads that effort. He's gathering presenters. I did that event for a number of years. Turned it over to Gordon and told him, for this event, if you don't have presenters, you don't have an event.
Right.
So the teachers are going to bring their kindergartners, but you need presenters. So he's recruiting presenters right now. It's really pretty cool.
For years, you recruited me as a presenter, and I always said no. So I don't think I got handed off on your list of potential presenters to Gordon. But I always said no for the worst possible reason. No 5-year-old is going to be interested in the lawyer because I have no badge, I have no dog, I have no horse, and I have no fire truck. I just can't compete.
Fair point.
That's too much smoke.
Fair
I
point.
Can't handle it.
Fair point. Bring a gavel and bang it on
Yeah.
the table occasionally.
I have a gavel that a friend of mine gave me, and this gavel, I don't know why anybody ever created it, but it's enormous. Not an actual
Yeah.
judge's gavel. If I brought that, I might get
Yeah.
some attention because
Yeah.
it's kind of a wooden Thor's hammer looking thing.
Yeah.
So that might do it.
I thought you were going to go where former president of Simpson University, Larry McKinney, would always go. We always have the president of the university come out and speak, give a greeting, and then Leanne gives a greeting as well. And we just ask him to give 3 minutes, 5 minutes like that. Larry was a polished speaker and loved to do it. So this is my toughest audience I've ever
Yeah.
spoken to. Is 1,000 kindergartners or something
Yeah.
like that.
I dressed with my youngest as Wolverine last year for Halloween, and I just cut the beard into the chops and Wolverine costume done. maybe I'll dress as Wolverine and tell them I'm a lawyer, but
There you
I'll
go.
at least have their attention.
There you go.
Big claws.
Now they're going to want to go to law school.
Yeah. So yeah, look at the claws the lawyers get. Okay. So there's the Kinder College event.
Yep.
What else?
College and Career Signing Day,
Okay.
which is not actually a college and career options event. It's actually run by Reach Higher Shasta, which is a county collaborative of business people, educators around the community. And we actually have been someone from our organization has been the one that has led that each year with the cooperation and funding support from Reach Higher Shasta and from others. We take donations to be able to help with that. And what we do there is we gather at Sequoia Middle School. This year, I think it's May 11th, if that's a Monday, and at 4 o'clock. And the public is welcome, the community is welcome to come. It's a fantastic event. We're hoping to be able to have about 100 students come across the stage at Sequoia. Any student in Shasta County, high school student, senior, who has outlined a plan for their education next year or their career next year, military, tech school, trade school, community college, a university, in-state, out-of-state, wherever it may be. They go to the stage, they tell their name, and we'll give them some swag from their school so they can show that, typically a pennant, maybe a t-shirt, and they will say, this is what I'm going to study, or this is what I'd like to be when I graduate from there. And we encourage the crowd to be as raucous as possible.
Right.
Which is not typically the case when you go to a high school event, graduation or something like that. It's just a joy, it's a delight, it's my favorite event of the year. And as part of that, we have recruited local community businesses to make a donation to be able to allow us to give away from each of those businesses $500 scholarships. So do the math, $2,500 allows you to, as an organization, get on stage for a minute and pitch your organization to us, talk to students about that, and then we draw names randomly. You're not writing an essay. Students don't write an essay. All they have to do is show up, walk across the stage, put their name card in a bag. We draw out of that bag. Then we give away. Last year we gave away, I think 30, maybe 35, either 15,000 or 17,500 the day of in terms of scholarships that went. You know a little bit about that event as well.
I
having
love
been
that
a parent
event.
watching it,
Mhm.
and then having been a contributor, donor. Thank you for that. And we are pledged to keep it to like an hour, no more than an hour in Sequoia Middle School, and be as raucous as possible. We love it.
You're a sports guy, so signing day means something to you without explanation.
Yes,
But
yes.
signing day, for kids who have committed to go off to a college, there's a table, they'll pick a hat, they'll pick a helmet, and it's a big deal when this
Right.
D1 recruit picks Penn State, for
Right.
example.
I'm taking my talents to Penn State.
All right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
So, so this is an opportunity for kids that are going to go on in some form of education or another.
Yeah.
I can tell you as a parent, when my son, who's now in college, was there as one of the representatives of his school, and he didn't get his name drawn, but man, he was excited to be there. It was ruckus, and then it was a thing that we just couldn't not get behind as a business. So my business partner and I have supported the event last year and again
Yeah.
this year, and it was great. The kids love it, the parents love it. It's $500 unexpected dollars to help defray moving costs, educational costs, transportation, all that stuff.
Yeah. You're right on. We mimicked it after signing day for athletes, and they get all the press, they get all the glory, they get all the pictures. Okay, that's fine, appropriately. But we wanted to honor other students too, not just athletes. Sometimes we do have athletes that come through because they're going to a unique school or something like that. But we want to give the other students a chance too, to be able to be recognized for making a plan, for having an idea of what they want to do. So, they'll come in from Bernie, Fall River, and all of the local schools, small schools, big schools, doesn't matter.
I don't
Private
know
schools,
what
doesn't
year
matter.
it was, but the kids from Bernie were either like tearing all their cards or something because they got all.
2 years ago,
Yeah.
I had said my joke from the platform that day was we're going to have a Brinks truck to follow the people from Bernie home because
Yeah.
going to be other people following them for that money. So,
Could not miss.
unbelievable.
Yeah, they're about 1,000. Okay, so there's Kinder College, there's College and Career Signing Day. Any other events that College and
One
Career
more,
Options does?
College Quest, and that is actually run by College and Career Options. That's a college fair. We do that typically we do that in October, and there's a date being solidified for that right now. And maybe this year it might be in September, but there'll be announcements coming out for that. So I tell people, just, it's going to be at Shasta College. Just, cross the town to be able to come and see, 20 colleges and universities, 5 branches, 5 military organizations, and then we have some local organizations as well. Maybe even more than 20 colleges and universities. They come from out of state, in-state, UCs, CSUs, community colleges, and they just set up a table, and you walk through the room and talk to them if you want, gather information if you want, talk about how much it costs, talk about financial aid, talk about, what's the pros of going. They're not going to give you the cons, but the pros of going to their school. And you can do it in an evening without having to go to, 30 different schools and make those trips. So it's a pretty cool event. We're actually on the state calendar. There's a statewide organization that runs these so that the recruiters or the admissions people aren't being all sucked up on one night at a different place. So they try and spread them out, which is cool.
We participated in that event, and it was like speed dating for your educational options after high school. It was great.
Yeah.
We were talking to everybody from Duke to UNR, to, all the branches of the service. And ultimately the school that my son selected, it was one of the schools that was represented there. Great organization or great option without having to travel. To go to all those places.
I like students to be a little bit more savvy about their questions than my son had when we did that at his age. His only question was, how close are you to the beach?
Okay.
So, I understand the question.
Right.
Great question, but there's some other things to explore.
I demonstrated virtually zero wisdom as a person in my young 20s, late teens, but I did tour the Pepperdine campus.
Ooh.
And I knew for certain that I would get nothing done if I went there. And so that's both a pitch and a not pitch for Pepperdine, because it's just too pretty looking out over Malibu like that. It's gorgeous.
Yeah. Well, there's the number of schools down there the same way. Point Loma on the beach, Santa Barbara, Goleta Beach. The first time I was there, I'm like, I couldn't have been a student here, no doubt.
Yeah. Where did your son go? To go to school by the beach?
He went to Biola.
Okay.
And which was not too far from the beach. And
right.
Spent a lot of days and nights at the beach, I think.
Yeah, for sure. So what does somebody listening need to hear about college and career options that we haven't already covered, if anything?
I think we pretty much covered it, Griff. I appreciate your questions. I think it was thorough. Again, I just want to express my gratitude primarily to the McConnell Foundation for allowing all this to happen. This is a unique organization on a national level. The thing that has made college options and college and career options different is our ability to offer career exploration services and financial aid services for free. These federal grants, which all these many, many, many places have across the country, these TRIO grants, they're far and wide, but they are prescriptive in what can be done, and it serves just a cohort, a narrow cohort of students that are on a campus. And our services are available for anyone, have been made available for anyone, and we've put financial aid and career exploration into that mix, which doesn't come. There aren't experts in those areas that are working in those TRIO programs. They can't be. They couldn't.
Right.
Be, right. They're another arms and legs again for counselors, really. And again, our counselors do a great job. So unique model, unique to have been funded for so long, I think, and just a model organizational structure for the rest of the country. And there aren't many like us out there. People have called me actually over the years, or they're going to move. Like, I'm going to wherever they're going. Do you know who does what you do in this town? Well, there is nobody that does this in that town. There are some different places, but there certainly aren't many. So I just want to express extreme gratitude, I think it was extreme foresight for them from the Connell Foundation to be able to see what they saw and to be able to see how they can move the needle. And just nothing but gratitude from me.
Yeah. Normally I would close the podcast with the guest, but I have to close today because I cannot encourage parents and students start, thinking of kids in high school particularly, start with your sophomores, get them to the, the career fair, the college fair, get them to start thinking about that. And then when they're sophomores and juniors, connect with college and career options for not just career exploration, but just demystify the whole financial aid process. Don't be afraid. It's really quick. It's not that hard. It's not that painful. And so you can make good decisions about your educational opportunities going forward. I mean, great organization. Even for someone who's not uninitiated like we were as a family, it was a huge resource to the community. I know that, you mentioned earlier you're wrapping up your career, but this organization needs to continue in this community, needs robust support from the community because 50,000 kids have benefited from the work of this organization, including my own great organization. I'm grateful to you and the group for not only your time today, but also just for the work in the community over the last 20 plus years.
Thank you for saying all that, Griff. I appreciate it. And it was my pleasure to be here. Thank you again for the invitation. Always great to be with you. This was no exception. So thank you so much.
Hey, my pleasure. Thanks for being here, Brad.
All right.